Here he goes again. That's huge. That's on the roof.
Welcome to Dean at Stumps, the cricket encyclopedia.
The Sri Lankans are stunned. The Zimbabweans are jubilant. Look what that means to them. The first ever series victory against Sri Lanka.
Hi, hello, and welcome to the Dean at Stumps podcast. My name is Dean du Plessis, and as always, it's a great pleasure to be having a chat with you. Right, let's get straight into it, shall we? Because we have two pretty lengthy but very special interviews coming up. Now then, he certainly terrorized batsmen around the world for a number of years with his combination of lethal bouncers and toe-crushing Yorkers. And also, at one stage, was very well known for the cream that he used to wear on his face, the war paint, before that was discarded. I am, of course, referring to the one and only White Lightning, Allan Donald, the former South African great fast bowler, who's also been an incredibly good bowling coach in the various setups around the world. He's currently with Kent. And I was able to catch up with Allan Donald, who gave me some of his time. And I first of all started off by asking him about his thoughts on the South African squad that had been announced for the World Cup.
First of all, thank you for having me on your show. It's been a long time.
Yes.
Really good to speak to you. And yeah, look, it's a good squad. It's a good squad. It's definitely. I think there was a lot of. Maybe one or two positions, especially at number 7, whether they take Mulder, or Pretorius. But I think that the squad that that's been picked, I think everyone probably expected that to happen. I thought Reza Hendricks was very unlucky not to make that squad. Look, I think Markram has shot the house down. I mean, he has just played outstanding cricket in South Africa this year. He has absolutely slammed the door down to get into that team. Unlucky for Reza Hendricks, but I think at the end of the day, Markram really showed what class he has, and he's been scoring runs for Hampshire over here. It's a very good, solid top order, and the other one obviously is at the moment, which is an injury scare, is Dale Steyn has gone back from the IPL as quickly as he got there, as quickly as he got home. A shoulder again. I hope it's not too bad. These times and before a World Cup, you just sort of hold your breath, and your key players who are carrying niggles, just hope that they make it and come through it, and there's nothing serious. It'll be a great shame to miss him, because South Africa really, if you look at all the bowling attacks and the teams that have been announced, South Africa definitely rank up there with one of the best one-day attacks that's going around currently.
And that leads me very nicely to my next question is, many people are of the opinion that in order for South Africa to do well, they're going to have to rely very heavily on their bowling attack, because people feel that seems to be a vulnerability and a brittleness about the South African top order especially. Would you agree with that? Would you concur with that?
Yeah, I do. I think, to be brutally honest, we haven't covered ourselves in glory in any of the one days so far. That it's always been a bit of a scrap. Certain players not coming to the party. And Hashim Amla struggled a lot. I know his dad has been very, very ill, so he's not taken that very easily. Big emphasis on South Africa's top order to score big runs. We've got England in the first game. That doesn't come any more difficult than that to start the World Cup against probably the favourites. And everyone would say that right now Team England is the favourites to win the World Cup in their backyard. But there's a lot of pressure. Alex Hales has pulled himself out of this World Cup now. Through drug-related issues. So he's probably not going to play, or we're going to be replaced. But yeah, look, there's no doubt that South Africa will be talking about their batting and how important it is to score the big runs, and then giving that bowling attack every bit to take teams down. So but yeah, look, it's any coach we would have spoken about that. I mean, Otis Gibson would have spoken about that in great depth, and I think there'll be a lot of pressure on this South African top order.
And you speak of Alex Hales. That's very unfortunate for England. But who do you replace him with? Do you bring James Vincent to the side? What do you do there?
Look, I think Vince is probably the obvious choice. It's the other guy that's been scoring a lot of runs has been Sam Northeast. Also, both Hampshire players. There's so many good players going around at the moment, but in the white ball game in the UK. But yeah, I think Vince is definitely that everyone has been talking about that should replace him. He's a one heck of a player. He's been doing very well last year in the Royal London Cup's been doing very well. Also, the shortest form of the game, 2020, he's been doing excellently last year. Let's wait and see what the England selectors come up with.
A lot of people have been talking about pitches, AD, in the World Cup, which will obviously provide seam and swing. Now, I'm going to put a little something out there and say I'm not so sure the pitches in England are as seamer-friendly as what they would have been, for example, back in the 1999 World Cup. So, many people are saying you should make sure that you have your best swing bowling attack. But to me, the pitches seem to have become a lot flatter, and you're not necessarily going to see as much done with the new ball as when you were there in 1999, with the Proteas. Would that be a fair call?
Yes, trust me that we've started earlier. We've had an early kickoff this year here, so we've been playing since the 3rd of April and 5th of April. Sorry. So all the Royal London Cup games at the moment have dished up scores close to 440, 360, 380. The ball has done absolutely nothing apart from going to the fence, and it has been brutal. Seriously, the wickets have been absolutely brilliant, and that's what teams will face. So if you're coming over here thinking there might be a bit of swing, and if there will be with the two new balls, there'll be a touch of swing, but the pitches have been absolutely brilliant. And it's also a 99. We used a Duke ball, and there was a little bit of seam and there was a little bit of swing, but they went soft quickly. They reversed beautifully. This is not the case this time round. This is going to be tough for bowlers here. To stop the flow of runs, so you got to take wickets. You got to be very aggressive mentally. If you got to, and there's some great attacks we're going to be witnessing in this World Cup. So all the skills will come to the fore. The different strategies. So my message to all the teams out there is. The bowlers rest easy because it's not going to be rest well because it's not going to be that easy over here. Trust me, there's lots of runs to be had, and it's just really sliding on magnificently well.
Let's just talk World Cup cricket in general, something which you have had some incredibly happy times and then, of course, some very sad times as well. Your first World Cup was in 1992 in Australia. You arrived as a bit of an unknown quantity in terms of a team. So, yourself and a couple of other South Africans would have had the privilege of playing a bit of county cricket. But generally speaking, you're a bit like Zimbabwe, 20 times better, but in terms of unknown quantities, because there was no internet in those days and, you couldn't really study players all that much. But you did remarkably well as a team. Now, I'd like you to explain the differences of the 1992 World Cup, where you were very unfairly treated by the weather. In the semi-final, had you won that game, you would have gone through to the finals. Versus 1999, where once again you got to the semi-final, and then unfortunately, due to that misunderstanding between yourself and Lance Klusener between the wickets, that also saw you not make it through to the final. I mean, both of them would have been devastating for you.
Yeah, very much so. I think the first World Cup, we went there with nothing to lose, really. I think, when we sat down as a team and for the first time in our very first team meeting, Kepler and Mike Proctor basically sort of outlined, we go there. First of all, people would have no idea about who we are, and a lot of people would not have seen us at all. So that's our first advantage going in there, and we must see us going there with nothing to lose and just play and really giving it a crack as much as we can. So yeah, it rained for, that unfortunately, with Douglas Lewis, at some point it was going to catch someone out. I think in that semi-final wasted way too much time in terms of, or lost too much time, not wasted, because we bowled way too many no balls and wides, and that was something that we just couldn't control with that wide Kookaburra. It was difficult, and at the end of the day, that time and those no balls and wides that we bowled really cost us 8 minutes. It rained for 8 minutes or 9 minutes, and that cost us just that one over or so that cost us the game. And 20 odd runs of one ball's a big hit. So, but look, we learned a lot from that, and it was a lot of stuff that we took out of that World Cup, and we grew every 4 years. And look, 99, I think that we'll probably go down as our best team. I would say that categorically. We had the best team in that World Cup, without a shadow of even hesitating about that. It was a side that was seriously well balanced with lots of all-rounders. We went into that World Cup with great form. It was the World Cup that we won the Champions Trophy. Before that, we went in there as world's number one team in all formats at that stage, Test and One Days. And we played like that, we really, with obviously a hiccup here and there. We actually mentioned Zimbabwe earlier on. We lost to Zimbabwe at Chelmsford. We got simply outplayed, and I just felt that on that day we didn't give Zimbabwe enough respect. We just pitched up there thinking that we got to get this game done and dusted, and we didn't. And look, the semi-final was one of those heartbreaking days that no one will ever forget. It was one of those cricket mishaps that unfortunately myself and Lance was involved in, that will go down and will never be. People will never stop talking about it. But that's just the World Cup pressures that it brings, and who knows what we will see in the 2019 World Cup here in England and what it will throw up. There's bound to be some major disappointments, and you expect that in World Cups because of the brutality of the pressure that it brings. So, but also it will bring up some amazing. It brings the world together. It brings people together, and I can't wait for it to start. I think it should be one heck of a spectacle.
I totally agree with you. I just very briefly want to go back to that mishap in the semi-final of the 99 World Cup. I would like you, if you can, to describe the atmosphere of the dressing room afterwards. I tell you why I say that is because Hansie Cronje, in an interview, the late Hansie Cronje, said that when he got back from his press conference and obviously interviews, I mean, that must have been jolly tough for him to try and handle. And he got there and he noticed that not one of the players in the dressing room had made any move to actually get into their casual clothes. They were pretty much sitting as he left them. I mean, it must have. Just try and talk us through that if you can, and try and explain was there many words spoken in the dressing room? Were there tears? Was there anger, sadness?
I think a bit of all. You don't have to mention the word sadness. I think it was pretty much like some, family member passed away. It was sort of that sort of feeling. And yes, no one really moved. I went straight away. I went to the physio room, which I knew very well, and sat down there and closed the door. So all I knew when Hansie was back from his press conference, when he got everyone together and someone fetched me from there and, sort of described how proud he was of every single one of us. for him to have, I don't think there would have been anyone else who wanted to speak, really, apart from him. I think he was strong enough to deal with that. It was a horrific finish to a game that we never lost, that we out of the World Cup in that sort of way was pretty disgusting, to be honest. But it wasn't a great dressing room. We sort of calmed down a little bit later. I remember Steve Waugh and Glenn McGrath coming to speak to me, just saying that it wasn't meant to be. I didn't deserve to be in that situation. But to remember that it is sport and it'll make you stronger, So it was a very, very, very tough time to deal with. I think afterwards was the worst for me, because when everyone left, I went back to Warwickshire. I basically spent some time with Bob Wilmer and trying to get it all back on track. So it wasn't an easy time for me. It wasn't an easy time for me for a number of years after that, because wherever you went, you got some either support or abuse. So it certainly wasn't a pleasant time at all. So, but these are the things that happen in sport. I'm not just using that game as an example. That was like missing a penalty in the World Cup semi-final. And it was, you can understand and have sympathise with someone taking a penalty, and this is the kick that matters, and then you miss, and then, it's brutal. International sport is brutal, and those moments are tough to handle, and it's how you come out of the other end of it that makes you the person you are today. So. Yeah, look, I can relate to that, and I can help other cricketers in my coaching now, come over major disappointments like that in the future.
Well, I think you've been absolutely magnificent in the way that you dealt with it. And as you say, it took a lot out of you as a player. Sadly, in 2002, we saw you play your last test match at the Wanderers, which was an incredibly sad moment for those of us who followed you throughout your career. But just to conclude, Allan, you've played under some fantastic captains, Kepler Wessels, Hansie Cronje, I'm sure a couple of very good Warwickshire captains as well. Who was the standout captain and why?
There's no question. My brother Hansie was definitely and I call him my brother because we grew up together. Because he was, without a shadow of a doubt, he was born to be the captain that he was. Straight up, I saw this coming when he was only 15. How he handled being under 15 captain, being under 17 and 18 rugby captain, and then under 19 Grey College first team, and then Craven Week captain prior to that. So he was destined for that. There's no question about that. He had this amazing calmness. The way he spoke, he was just a naturally born leader that had the respect from the moment you walk into a dressing room. He had that aura about him that made people sit up immediately, waiting for instructions. So it didn't take. I'll give you a little example of in a test match where we had batted all day. He would just put his spikes on, and when he put his spikes on and walked out the door, you know that we're going to do either have a game of touch rugby or we're going to be sweating for the next 20 minutes. So he didn't ask any questions. He didn't ask you to come. He didn't ask you to come with him. You just knew that you had to follow him. And that's the whole team walked out the door. And we did 60 shuttles or whatever, and he just said thank you. And that's the sort of person he was, and that's the sort of aura he had about him, that you know what was coming. And you simply knew that you could follow this bloke anyway. He captained you in a way, and he spoke to us in a way that he was always followed. So simple as that. He was just an incredibly talented and natural-born leader.
And Kepler, in his own very, very tough manner, also managed to get the best out of you, but in a different way.
Yeah, he was definitely tougher. He was uncompromising. He expected you, if you were hurting, to not sort of look for sympathy, but get on with things. But Hansie was the other way. He would listen first and try and give you one or two options. Where Kepler wasn't really that guy who was prepared to listen to your so-called excuse, and which was, in a lot of cases was an excuse because you were really sore and you were almost in a way that you couldn't get on with things. So, but yeah, look, Kepler was when he toughened everyone up. He brought this tough culture from Australia. And he simply was. Look, don't get me wrong. He was a damn good captain. But there's a big difference between those two, for sure.
Well, that was Allan Donald in conversation with me, and I think I can say that was one of the nicest interviews I've had. I certainly remember spending a lot of time glued to the radio and even listening to the television and hearing Donald run in. I remember my first experience of Allan Donald was at Kingsmead Stadium back in 1991. It was a 45-over match, a day-night match. It was what was then known as Natal versus Free State. Obviously, that would now be the Dolphins versus the Knights. And I do recall my late brother just watching with his eyes growing wider and wider as Donald ran in with this incredible rhythm and bowled at incredible pace. And what a joy and pleasure it was to also get to know him when he was here with us in Zimbabwe, spending a bit of time with the Mountaineers, one of the franchises here in Zimbabwe. Well, the ongoing ICC ladies cricket, the regional qualifiers have been happening here in Zimbabwe. And of course, we've had 9 teams here in Zimbabwe. And there's been a lot of cricket played. These are all T20 matches. And Zimbabwe have done pretty well. They've played 2 matches and they've won 2 matches. One of the standout performers is somebody who's been around for a long time. She took a bit of a break and then came back, had a few injuries to deal with as well. But my word, can this lady hit a cricket ball? I am, of course, referring to Sharne Mayers, and I was very fortunate enough to catch up with Sharne. And I first of all started off by talking to her about not only her personal performance, but the performance of the team, which has been exceptionally good so far with 2 wins out of 2. And naturally, Sharne was delighted with the way things have gone so far.
Yes, I need to make the most of the opportunity, especially not being a regular of the national team in the last few years. And yeah, it's been a fantastic experience, just taking each game and each ball as it comes.
Has it been a bit of an adjustment for you from changing from being a middle order, very aggressive middle order batsman or batter to a top order batter? How different has it been for you playing a slightly different role?
It has been very different in terms of, you do have a little bit more time in the middle to see what the bowlers are doing, and also just to play a little bit more cautiously. But I was given free rein to make use of the power play, and still be very aggressive right at the top order. But also, it really has been coming out well. Batting with Modesta and Chipo, it really has been coming out well, and we've been able to put on some really good partnerships.
What I've discovered or noticed so far is that you and Modesta seem to understand each other's role very nicely. So if the one gets off to a very good start, the other one feeds off the energy and rotates the strike. So it's not like you both of you are trying to go out there and be, almost too aggressive at the top of the order.
Yes, Modesta and I, our first tour together was in 2009 at under 19 level. Wow. And with that there, our games have changed tremendously between then and now. But yeah, she's been so helpful in, making that position my own. And the support has been invaluable. And like you said, one day it's me, one day it's her, but it's all about, working together for the team.
All right, talk to us a bit about the rest of the series or the rest of the tournament in terms of what needs to be done other than winning. Is there any particular team who you're a bit concerned about? You'll probably tell me every team is a potential stumbling block, but which team do you think could now pose a bigger threat for you?
Well, as you said, every team is a threat. We're taking each game as it comes, and we're going to regard that as the game that's going to decide if we go to the World Cup or not. So, but I would definitely say in our last 2 remaining group games, because we've got to deal with those first, I'd definitely say, Rwanda, I reckon they would give us a good fight. And yeah, but we'll see after that there, and then maybe, in the final.
Now, tell us a bit, because a lot of people know about you, they know about Modesta, they know about Chipo, but we don't really know a great deal about the bowlers. Many people don't know about the bowlers. Tell us a bit about the seamers and the bowling attack in general that Zimbabwe has.
I would definitely say our seamers, they always make sure that we start out right at the best foot forward. We have Josephine Gomo, who has wheels. If anything, I reckon she's the quickest bowler at this tournament.
Really?
Yeah, and she's definitely, in my opinion, she's the quickest bowler in our team. And then we've got our left arm seamer, Nomvelo Sibanda, lefty, and she brings a different dynamic into the team. She's very consistent. It's very hard to get runs off her. But yeah, and then Audrey Mazushaya, nice swing bowler, always bowls it in the right areas. Geez, it's definitely a bowling attack to be, look after.
And Anesu Mushangwe as well?
Yes, geez, that's our wily leggy. She definitely likes to play games with the batters. So, it's always good to have that there in the net. She's going to come at you, she's going to bowl hard at you, and then you definitely know, right, in the game time, I'm glad I don't have to play against her.
And you've been around for a long time, so you'd have played under quite a few captains as well. You've captained a team with a great deal of distinction as well. But Marianne Musonda seems to bring a great deal of energy and professionalism to this outfit as well as captain, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. She's a fantastic leader, and she holds us accountable, and she also brings a great deal of fun. As much as it's very professional, we want to get results, but also at the same time she still keeps things fun. We still keep things taking it a moment, take each moment as it comes, and great leader. It's fantastic playing under her. So yeah.
Sharne, you've been away for a bit. We've missed you. We've many times Zimbabwe, or the odd time when Zimbabwe have played, there's no Sharne Mayers to talk about. Where have you been and what have you been up to?
Well, in 2017, when the girls went to Namibia, I got injured a few days before that tour, which did take me out of the national team, and then soon after that went to New Zealand and played there, and for a season, and that was a phenomenal experience. I loved it. I learned a lot about my game, also about adjusting to certain conditions and playing in different positions. So yeah, I went there for the learning experience, just to gain the experience so I can come here and do it for my country.
What was it like? I mean, you said you've learned a lot, but what were some of the things that you would have learned, while being away? Not necessarily just about cricket, but I mean, it must have been a whole big, life-changing experience for you.
Yes, I think one of the biggest things was, whilst I was there, was knowing what I wanted to achieve, and getting stuck in. It doesn't matter what obstacles you face, regardless of where you are in the world. Was just, what do you want to achieve? What do you have to do do it? And making the necessary sacrifices to get to where you want to get to, whether it be in cricket, in life, in whatever aspect of your life, you just have to get stuck in what you want and go for it. And I must say, definitely, my bosses and my friends, they definitely helped me. I must say that Richard Luff, he was a very big influence with that, as well as Mandy Godliman. They definitely, helped me for the adjustment period, but also just helping me figure out what I wanted.
So this game of cricket that has got you so captivated, and you have also captivated many people with your very aggressive style of batting. When it's 3 questions that you'll be able to answer in one question. When did you start to like the game? When did you realize that you want to play the game? When did you realize that you can play this game?
This game captivated me. I think I was 6. I was 6 years old, playing backyard cricket. I realized I could play the game when I was 10. And by the time I was 11, I was already saying I'm playing for the national team. It didn't matter what came my way, I was playing for the national team.
So, I mean, obviously, it's your style. I'm not entirely sure who you remind me of, but a little bit like Lance Klusener, who used to play for South Africa. The way that you're able to be very versatile, up the order like Lance did, but then finish the innings as well. You would have been a bit young, but did you ever watch any of his footage? Because there's such similarities to you and Lance Klusener.
Yes, I watched Zulu many a time. He was actually playing in the first live international match I've ever watched.
Oh wow.
I must say, my parents had to make a hard decision. Do I bunk school and watch the entire game? Or do I only go after lunch? And I'm glad they allowed me to watch the whole match.
Oh, well done. Good parents.
And they've been very supportive. But yes, I managed to watch him play and from a young age. And he was, if anything, I grew up and I was like, I want to be like Zulu, because I didn't know too many women cricketers at the time. But, as you grow older, you realize, that women do play, and they play this game very, very well.
Absolutely. So who are your current favorite women cricketers around in world cricket?
I definitely have to say it's always great watching players like Amy Satterthwaite play, as well as there's so many, but like Amy Satterthwaite, Susie Bates, Sophie Devine, definitely in the New Zealand team. But I like the game they play, but I must say somebody who I looked up to from a young age was Heidi Tiffin. I think she was playing against the Australian team. So Heidi Tiffin and Lisa Sthalekar, like I followed them right up until the end of their careers. And
yeah, absolutely. Just briefly also, Vusisi Banda, Sharne, he's been helping you ladies out in terms of batting, I understand. He too was a very versatile player, could bat up the order, down the order. I guess he would have helped quite a bit in terms of helping you make that adaptment and that adjustment from batting a number 5 or number 4 to opening the batting as well.
Yes, Vusi has been a fantastic influence. He's worked with us it's been a very short period of time, but we've gained so much from him. He definitely has changed my mental approach to the game and how I approach each game, each innings. So, look, I definitely have learned a lot from him, and I can't wait to learn more.
So onwards with the tournament, and I guess it's something that you just want to kind of just get involved in and make sure that come Sunday that you are through to and off to the global qualifiers.
Yes, we're taking it each game as it comes, and I just need to put in my bit, do what I have to do for the team. At the end of the day, that's what comes first.
Absolutely right. Sharne Mayers in conversation with me, and what a good player she is, and what a wonderful person she is to talk to as well. You've been listening to the D-Nut Stumps podcast. I can assure you there'll be many more really good interviews on their way. And don't forget that this is now also available on YouTube. So all you need to do is to go onto YouTube, look for Dean du Plessis, subscribe, like, and share. Please do that. And stand by for many more really good interviews that will hopefully entertain you. I hope I've entertained you as well. Thank you very much indeed for listening. And we'll be back again pretty soon. But until then, it's stay safe and goodbye.